And welcome to another episode of Daily Market Mastery with me, Christian Rauchenwald, on this Sunday or sunny-ish Monday afternoon. I hope you all had a great weekend and you're ready for the new trading week. As always, before we jump into the markets and my portfolio, let's get the usual disclaimer out of the way first. Everything that I share in this live stream / video is my personal opinion and in no way financial or professional advice of any kind. You should always do your own research, consult certified professionals, draw your own conclusions, and make your own decisions. Besides that, all the tools that I'm using, so the broker, the charting software, the strategy I'm following, and so on, are as usual all linked in the video description down below. And the one thing I truly think you should check out if you haven't done so is the Elliott Wave Principle. You can read this wonderful book for free when you use the link that's in the description down below, or you can use the same link to get yourself a physical copy. Now, with all of that out of the way, let's jump into my portfolio, and we can see that we have another slightly break-even start into the day. Our portfolio is unchanged. We still hold 600 shares of GameStop, against which I've sold 6 covered calls. And outside of that, we have a few by far much smaller positions. Now, which means when we jump into the charts, the most important thing for us is GameStop's price development. We're still waiting to see either a confirmation that this is indeed the end of wave 4, and we're right now already in wave 5 up, or a confirmation that this is only wave A, wave B, and that we're now about to see a wave C further down to maybe the 78.6 retracement. Either way, there's not much we can do but wait and obviously check how the premium for our call options behaves, if it's worth rolling them already. Right now, the expiration for our option is March 28 and the strike price is 37, which means if by this time the price is still below 37, we simply pocket the premium. If the price is above 37, our shares might get called away. So in 2 minutes, markets are going to open, and then we can check the option premium and see if rolling is worth it. Other than that, we move on to Barnes & Noble Education Inc. And I really hope that the chart is loading. We can use I haven't had the time yet to look into why it sometimes isn't. We can see the daily chart has no problem loading here. Gonna move that one aside for a second and instead try to, I cannot switch to daily while it's loading. I cannot abort the loading. That's like, So if we look at the chart here, we actually have a slightly red start into the day here in Barnes & Noble Education Inc. We can see, I'm gonna zoom a bit. We can see that here we might have either 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is now an ABC playing out, in which case we wouldn't expect much more downside here. Or maybe we're seeing further corrections happening here or going on here. Either way, as long as we stay at least above 831 per share, we're going to stay in that position and ideally at some point increase it to 100 shares. If we can get enough options premium from rolling our GameStop covered calls out to afford an extra, an extra 50 shares. Right now, I think we have exactly 50 shares. So that we can then also ideally sell covered calls against those shares. As said, but for now relevant, we're waiting another 30 seconds for GameStop to open, and then we'll need this, and we can already prepare it. So we would have to buy back the 37 March 28 calls, and we would try to roll out, in this case, to April 4th, and basically sell those. Now, obviously, there's no price right now, but in another 20 seconds, we'll have a quote here, ideally. Now, moving on. 1 second. Oh, that's the Barnes & Noble window. Okay, so that we can then close now. So since it's not loading here, I really don't know what the issue is. In immersion, we are basically waiting for what I believe is the rest of the correction to finish. So ideally down at 669. We already have, how much do we have? 50 shares. We will also try, if we have available funds, to average down here and increase our position. Failing to do that, we'll just hold what we have right now. In cost, we're not sure what's happening here right now, to be honest. So this move here looks suspiciously like it's only a 3-wave move, which would put our assumption that wave 2 ended here close to the 78.6 retracement in jeopardy. So we're just waiting to see how this develops, and once we have a clearer picture, we will make our decisions accordingly. In NEO, we're holding 100 shares and we actually are waiting to finally have our confirmation for the next 5-wave move upwards. I have to say, I've pointed it out the last couple of episodes as well. I've called this one partially wrong twice, first here and then here. In both cases, entering with a trailing stop loss or at least considering taking profits at some point would have been the right move. Either way, I believe that there's more upside to come. We would only abandon this position if NEO falls below 363 or touches 363. As long as that does not happen, we'll simply hold on to the shares we have. And that brings us, like to other things. Do we get a chart for SMCI? Yes, we do. As said, we are here. What I believe, this is basically potentially either this is only wave 1, 2, 3, 4, and now we get wave 5, or this is somehow already wave A, this is wave B, and we're now getting wave C, or I'm completely wrong. This is the entire correction, and from here we're actually going further up. However, I believe that the company is hugely overvalued and should actually, over the next couple of months, make its way, and years potentially, make its way down into the $5 range. We'll see if that's going to happen, but we'll have to wait for it to actually see it happening. Yeah? And yeah, with that, what else do we have here from the list? Frontline. There, I'm actually curious. We're also going to try to, no, not like this, but open a new chart window. More open chart window. Let's see if it loads here, but it might not. And then we'll quickly check the premiums before we decide what we do with the rest of today's stream. It's going to again be a shorter episode. There is not much change, especially since we are locked in our GameStop position, and there is no point in changing that. There is not much to do, even if we find opportunities to invest in. Like, there is no free cash right now to use for those positions. So yeah, looks like the chart's not loading. So we're going to check our options. There should be, so there's no volume on the 37 strike price in both cases, which makes it a little tricky. We can see the ask, but there is no bid. And that, yeah, like we could obviously go based on the ask, which would be debit, which we're not going to do. I made it once. I'm never going to do that again. So we're not going to roll options for debit, and which makes it a little bit problematic. 1 second, have to check something real quick. Yeah, we'll reply to. No, we'll do that right now. Yeah, just a moment, and we'll continue the stream. So yeah, just bear with me. So back again, sorry, just had to reply to a message. And yeah, next distraction, sorry, I have to do my daily mining tasks. Yeah. So I'm like a squirrel sometimes, but yeah, my wife's laughing in the background. In the meantime, you can at least watch a chart, yeah, and then we're gonna again check the options queue. So just need a minute to press buttons in several different apps. Yeah, it's like a daily activity. There we go. Sounds like slot machines, but isn't. There we go. In the meantime, I mean, obviously, feel free to share your thoughts. So, do you agree with the predictions that I shared for GameStop, COS, BNet, Immersion, and so on? Or do you have a different expectation about the at least immediate future? And NEO would be the most interesting one. Although we have a very small position, but I think like there should be a lot of upside, and it's possible to get in relatively cheap right now. So, but again, that's just my opinion. So, almost done. Almost done. Okay, the other one I already did. So this, and there we go. Yeah, so, and as far as the options go, I think in the future I should stick to the more popular strike prices, which obviously would be, you can see it based on the open interest at, for example, 40, 35, and so on. So even prices are more popular. We can see that still on both days, we don't have volume or now there's a little volume, at least on one side, but it doesn't help us if we don't have, or not volume, but at least there's a bit. So it would be somewhere in the middle between that, which would mean we would receive around, what's there, the gap? So 100 would be if it's 0 to 2. And so a little bit over, like around $120 per option here, but we still don't have a price here. Although here it would be between, might actually be worth rolling, but then the question would be if we can do it manually. So if that's 50 to 1, 70 to 1, 50 to 140. It's hard to estimate the right thing. So we would want to buy, but I would need to submit it as 2 orders so that I can actually enter the right price. Or we can simply, what we can do is like, I would say if I get $600 in premium, so -1, then I'm willing to roll them and we'll just submit it like this. So that would mean if I get $600 for closing out the old ones and in return writing new ones, so sell the April 4th, buy back those, then I would do it. So we're just going to submit that order, even if it might not trigger, because obviously there is no volume. So again, there are no bids. Honestly, not sure how Interactive Broker in this case actually calculates our bid for that, or if it really is trying to make it as one trade. But yeah, so because technically there's an infinite amount of possibilities in terms of how much we're willing to pay for this and how much we would have to get for that. And but right now, considering that we have to buy back those, it's obviously not gonna trigger. Although we can see that the ask at least is going up here. Yeah. But with that, at least we have an order in place. If we can get or squeeze $600 out for rolling it for a week longer, then we obviously do that. If we cannot do that, then the order will not trigger and we're also good. So either way, I think we're fine this way. Not close. Yep, that's done. Okay, and that brings us back to the charts. And there we can look at Bitcoin, which we would have to relabel. Right now, as mentioned, it's possible that we still get another push potentially to the 38.2 retracement level, but there's also the chance that this was the entire retracement and we're right now looking at the next wave 1, 2 and get another push up in the near future. We'll just have to hold. Our Bitcoin exposure is not that big, so I don't worry about it too much, and we'll just have to hold. In Algorand, we actually are in the target area, but looking at this here turns out to be wave 1, 2, 3, 4, and we still get the wave 5 push. So we might get to see the 20-cent mark before we see the next movement upwards. And so we'll just hold and yeah, like not worry. It's a little tricky because stop loss for the assumption that the pattern is wrong would need to be at 10 cent. But Then again, oh, sorry guys. Then again, my Algorand exposure is also not too big. Our Crow exposure is almost non-existent at the moment, so we don't care. HNT, we expect the set to go a little bit lower, the area of 298 here, or at least a little below here, 260 would be fine before we go further up. XRP, we don't care, but from the looks of it, we have a 1, 2, 3, 4 in progress. So I think we still should move sideways a little bit and maybe a little bit further down. And XYO will have to relabel, which means this is what we can do today at least, so that we have a little bit more in the stream. So visually, I think the issue is that, yeah, like, or not the issue, I think from what we have here, it actually looks like this. So here we have the 300 levels, so we get rid of all the others. We don't need them right now. So what I believe we're looking at here is basically wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4 might not be finished, and then we have a wave 5. So if we use Kennedy channeling technique, that means this would be our so-called base channel. And very often wave 4 would reach the top or median of the base channel. Then we have our so-called acceleration channel, which would be basically this here, where with the breakout, we confirm that we are technically in wave 4. Then we have our deceleration trend line that would look roughly, no, not horizontal line, sorry, trend line, that would look roughly like this. And actually, technically, the breakout here might indicate the move up, or so the beginning of wave 5. However, we also have to consider the low here is at 1340, and the low here is slightly lower, which makes it more likely, so we get rid of that trend line right now, which makes it more likely that what we're looking at might actually be something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, might actually be something like wave A, wave B, and now we are basically seeing wave C play out. So I would expect that we potentially at least go down maybe till here, till the 12-cent mark, maybe even touch the 10-cent mark since it's an even price, before we see the next journey further up. And that would be the area where we would consider switching some of, for example, our Bitcoin holdings, or use some spare USDC to increase our position. I think this labeling makes more sense. We still have to see how this correction plays out, but visually, I believe there is still another wave missing, because otherwise we don't have a valid 5-wave count. What else can we look at? Amazon we were looking at recently, so we expect, or I pointed out that it's possible we would need to label this part better, but overall we expect a little bit more upside here, although it looks like we're currently in a correction looking on the weekly chart. So question is where it finished. But again, I still expect another push up here. And I think with that, we're actually going to call it a day here. I'm just not motivated to label anything else, to be honest, especially since we don't have any free capital to dump into, or not dump, but to use in new positions. So we are just going to wait and see how things play out. And also, since there are no requests in the chat to do something specifically, it feels like our option rolling might be possible in the near future. We can see that the mid price would already be ±0. Although for $6 or for $12 in premium, I'm not going to extend the expiration by another week. But if everything runs properly, we should within the next week see, maybe even within this week, see this order trigger, earn extra capital for our current covered calls, or from our current covered calls, by rolling them out, and then be able to use those funds to, for example, increase our Barnes & Noble educational exposure by another 50 to 60 shares, or our immersion exposure. But as I said, that's it for today. I hope you were able to take something positive away. And with that, I'm going to leave you to it. Thanks for stopping by. Have a great day. And then see you tomorrow with another episode of Daily Market Mastery. Till then, bye-bye.